Okay, shalom. This is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights, and we're sitting here in northern Maine. Believe it or not, it's actually June 4th. I know it's hard to believe based on how I'm dressed, but it is. Eliezer and I climbed Mount Katadhin 2 days ago. Katadhin is the highest peak in Maine. It's about a mile. The peak is about a mile above sea level, and it's a very, very difficult hike. It's really actually more of a mountain climb. But here we are. We're still a little bit sore. Tomorrow we're going whitewater rafting. In the meantime, we thought we'd do a video or two. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about what I think the purpose, or what I think the goal of the Torah is. And I think it's really misunderstood by a lot of people. I think it's misunderstood by the rabbis. I think it's misunderstood by the traditional Egyptian Karaites, and I think it's misunderstood by most of the world. Actually, if anyone understands it the best, maybe it's most of the world, or parts of the world, the non-Jewish world, ironically. So, in order to understand what the purpose of the Torah is, and why the nation of Israel was given the Torah, and what we're supposed to do with this Torah, we have to go back a little bit in history of humanity. So according to the Tanakh, humanity started out first in a perfect situation in the Garden of Eden, right? We had eternal life there, at least very long life, because actually I don't believe it was eternal life, because anything that has a physical existence must at some point come to an end. The very nature of a physical being is that it's limited in space and limited in time. That's what makes every physical object you can think of is limited in space and limited in time. So, at any rate, we were in the Garden of Eden for a very, very long time, or we're supposed to be in the Garden of Eden for a very long time. We're supposed to live for a very long time, and unfortunately, humanity, as represented at the time by Adam and Eve, messed it all up, and messed it all up pretty quickly. Within a very short period of time, we don't know exactly how long. Any speculation that it was the same day as they were created is merely speculation, because the Torah does not tell us. But within a very short period of time, Adam and Eve got thrown out of the Garden of Eden for making a mistake, for disobeying the instructions that Yehovah had given them. I have a whole theory about what really went on in the Garden of Eden, and which I think is actually very clear in the Torah, but I'm going to get into that another time. At any rate, we got thrown out of the Garden of Eden. We soon after that were put into a world which was less than perfect, more resembling the world we live in today, full of violence, full of murder. We had our first murder when Cain murdered Havel, his brother, and then very quickly the world seemed to descend into depravity, to the point of the generation of the flood, where the world seemed to be filled with violence, with depravity, with probably all of the horrible things that we see today: murder and stealing and deceit, and every possible violation of the laws of the universe, the natural laws of the universe under the heavens. So Yehovah at that point contemplated destroying all of humanity, and he essentially did, except leaving Noah and his immediate family to survive and to carry on the struggle for humanity's return to the Garden of Eden. Okay, well, there was no intention at first for humanity to do anything but live in the Garden of Eden, live in a perfect world, live in a perfect situation. And but Yehovah did give us free will, and we used that free will and went against that. So here we were. You can't do that. You can't scratch your nose, man.
Mosquito.
I understand that, but okay, fine. I'll edit that out.
I was killing you with my nose.
That's fine. All right, fine. All right, let me continue. So the original intention was to live in a perfect world, and that didn't work out too well, and we ended up in a world filled with all kinds of horrible things. Similar to the world we have today. Okay, now after the flood, so Noah and his descendants, or Noah began to have descendants, and his descendants spread out, and the world seemed once again to not really embrace fully the ways of God. There were a couple of shining stars here and there, but for the most part, humanity did not embrace the ways of God, okay, of Yehovah. Along came a man named Abraham, and he seemed to be a pretty good guy. He seemed to be very interested in the ways of Yehovah, and Yehovah decided to establish a relationship with him, a close and loving and personal relationship with Abraham. He spoke to Abraham directly. Abraham became a prophet. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Yitzchak gave birth to Yaakov, and Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. He was given the name Israel, and so was born the nation of Israel. So it was through this loving relationship, this special relationship that Yehovah had originally with Abraham, and then through his descendant Yitzchak, and then through his child Yitzchak, and then through his child Yaakov, that the nation of Israel originated. But I think the mistake that many people make, and especially that's made in the rabbinical world, the Karaite world, and maybe even the world at large, is that the nation of Israel is somehow separate from the rest of humanity. And ultimately, we may have a certain specific role, but we're not separate from the rest of humanity. We can every single person in this world can trace his origin back to Adam or to Noah. And therefore, the nation of Israel has to work and has to operate within the rest of the world. And ultimately, our goal is to lead the world back to a state of perfection, to lead the world back essentially to the Garden of Eden. And that's where I think the role of the Torah comes in. So the Torah is often thought of by the rabbis and often by the standard Karaites. And when I say the standard Karaites, I mean most of the Egyptian Karaites who have actually been very, very rabbinized, and I don't even think represent to a large degree even true Torah anymore. But the Torah has been presented by them as something very specific to the nation of Israel, that it only has relevance to the nation of Israel, and that the rest of the world is basically, I mean, even the rabbis consider the non-Jews to be, in a certain sense, animals, not even human beings. And I think this is disgusting. I find this an affront, to what the Torah stands for, an affront to the very idea that Yehovah created all of humanity. Okay. Now, so what is the role of the Torah? I think the Torah can ultimately only be understood as a covenant between Yehovah and Israel, okay, with the purpose of having Israel act as kind of the older brother of humanity. If we think of all the nations as a family of nations, then Israel is the firstborn. Bechor Yehovah is the firstborn of Yehovah, and it's stated so a number of times in the Tanakh. We're the firstborn of Yehovah, which means we're kind of the elder brother of all of the nations, and our goal is to shine a light and to teach and to lead humanity back to this perfect state of that we had in the Garden of Eden. Now, over the years, this role has kind of been blurred because there's been so much tension between Israel and the other nations. And they've done wrong, we've done wrong, we've sinned, we've gone against what the Torah originally intended for us to do. We've forgotten the role that we were supposed to have. And so Yehovah used these other nations as punishment against us, and therefore resentment rose up between ourselves and the rest of the nations. But that's not the ultimate state of humanity as is supposed to be. All we have to do is look at the time of Solomon and even David, where in both cases Solomon had peace, it seems, with all of the surrounding nations, and even David had peace with some of the surrounding nations. He had a strong bond with Hiram, the king of Sidon and Tyre. And he had a strong bond with some of the other surrounding nations at certain points, who aided him and assisted him. The role of the Torah is to create a covenant with the nation of Israel, okay, that covenant is ultimately supposed to kind of be a shining light back to the Garden of Eden, okay? And many of the laws in the Torah, in fact, all of the laws in the Torah, really come down to a couple of important things. To one important thing, which is how to be kind to each other as human beings, and how to respect the world, how to respect Yehovah, because if we don't respect Yehovah, how can we respect our own brothers and sisters in humanity? How can we respect the animals? How can we respect the plants? How can we respect the earth? We see the consequences of what that lack of respect has has caused in our own times. The lack of respect for the environment, the lack of respect for each other, the murder, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, the gossiping in the newspapers, on the news, the deceit, the perversion of justice, and on all the horrible things that we see in our world today. And this is exactly what the Torah was created to do, to prevent or to hold us back from doing these kinds of things. Let's take a break, Eliezer.